Don't have any first timers. I also want to welcome those on our virtual platform. Some of us are watching from home and not YouTube, but Facebook. Some of you are watching on Facebook. Our forum runs from 8:30 to 10. Okay, and we usually stop about 9:45 and have announcements. And let's see, we always begin with a prayer. We're going to have Miss Sarita come up and give us our morning prayer.
Good morning, everyone. Would you bow your heads, please, and let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we're thankful this morning for so much. We're thankful to have Miss Brown with us. We're thankful today for being among the living. Bless this session today. Remember our children everywhere, all the time. Remember the victims from the travesties the past 2 days and their families. Bless our country, its leader, and its cabinet. Bless our state, our city, our county, our neighborhood, and our schools. It's in your Son Jesus' name we pray this morning. Let us say together, amen.
Amen. Amen. Okay, our guest today is Miss Alesha Brown, Esquire, and she is I'm gonna say CEO for the struggle, and she's done a lot of great work in Charlotte. She's going to talk about that. Also, she has also now an actual office or building on Beatty'sford Road, directly across from Northwest School of the Arts. So if you pass by there, you will see her. Well, depending on which way you come, and be on the left or the right. But I'm just so proud of her and what she has accomplished in really a short period of time. So what we'll do, we'll have her to give her presentation. If you have a question, raise your hand, and I'll call on you in the order that you raise your hand. Okay, so we're going to ask you to ask your question maybe in less than a minute, okay, and then you can answer. If I see that it's going too long, I'll step in, okay?
Okay.
Otherwise. Okay, so we'll get started with Miss Alesha Brown, Esquire.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
How y'all doing today? Good. It's always good to be in the number. And it feels good that we opened up with a prayer. So thank you for that. I am Alesha Brown, and I am the executive director and founder of the nonprofit she mentioned, which is For the Struggle. For the Struggle is focused on combating systemic issues of racial and social injustices. And I started it here in Charlotte. We got our articles of incorporation back in May of 2019. We did some on-the-ground canvassing work to meet some of the folks we would be serving at the end of 2019, and we actually started executing in 2020. I'll talk to you a little bit more about the focus areas that we have For the Struggle and the different things we do on a daily basis. But first, I'll give you a little bit of background on me. So I am not a native Charlottean. I am from Charleston, South Carolina, where we love the beach. I grew up there. I was born and raised there. I left Charleston to go to college at the University of South Carolina, go Gamecocks. And then I left Columbia to go up to New York City to go to law school. So I am a civil rights attorney by trade. I do employment discrimination cases, and I do police misconduct cases. And I also do other civil litigation around property-related issues, and you'll understand why I do that type of litigation once you hear about some of the programs that we have For the Struggle. I am actually happily taking a break from practicing law. I am finishing up my last, look how Dr. Cheryl looked at me. I am finishing up my last cases at my law firm here in Charlotte. It's called Justice in Action Law Center. And I'll be taking a year sabbatical just to focus on For the Struggle, right? Because I've been managing two very blessed and flourishing businesses, and it has not done well to me physically, mentally, or spiritually. I actually have two gray hairs coming in at the top of my hair, so at the top of my head. And so I'm taking a step back from practicing law outside of legal services that my law firm provides in partnership with For the Struggle. Okay, so that's just a little bit of background on me. I was in New York City. I started out in the Wall Street district litigating cases. I left that job and went to the New York City Council, where I served as their counsel to their civil rights committee. So I was responsible for drafting and amending the civil rights law, the human rights law in New York City. After I left New York City, I moved to Durham, where I litigated voting rights cases, working on what we often refer to as the voter ID law, and also litigating a lot of the gerrymandering cases, right? So the racial gerrymandering and the political gerrymandering cases, I litigated those cases with our new Supreme Court Justice, Anita Earls. I then left Durham and came here to Charlotte with my ex-fiance. And that's when I took the North Carolina bar exam, because I would be in North Carolina State's courts. And then I started at a firm here. I worked there for about a year and a half before I started my own practice. So that is sort of me in a nutshell. And then woven into all of that is this beautiful organization called For the Struggle. And so currently we have 3 full-time W-2 staff members. There's myself as the executive director. I have a deputy director, Stacey Hamilton, and we have a full-time marketing director who is also the director of our Elder Response Initiative, which I'll talk about in a moment. In addition to our 3 full-time employees, we have 6 part-time employees who helps us execute our various programs. Okay, so what is For the Struggle? For the Struggle has 3 primary focus areas. We have our community response team that's responsible for doing just that, responding to needs that are identified by the folks in the communities we serve, Black communities, right? Throughout my education and legal career, I worked with and for a number of different nonprofits, and I always found it to be very troublesome that nonprofits were receiving hundreds and thousands and sometimes even millions and millions of dollars to solve Black issues, and there wasn't any Black person sitting at the table from those communities that they were alleging that they were serving. In fact, they were getting money to serve communities that they were scared to go into, right? And so that was very problematic to me. And so For the Struggle has been an idea since 2012. But I did not want to launch an organization in a community that I was not a part of, because again, I wanted to make sure we were actually responding to needs, as opposed to creating an organization and say, hey, y'all, here's something you need to take advantage of this, right? I wanted to hear what they needed, and then we actually structured our programming around those needs, right? So the community response team, I would say, is our most robust focus area. And again, that team is tasked with responding to needs that are identified by the folks in the Black communities we serve. And so what we did at the end of 2019, we just started knocking on doors. I got some of my cousins together and some of my good friends, my sorority sisters together, and I said, hey, I need you guys to get out with me and knock on doors and figure out what's going on in this community so that we can figure out what our focus areas at For the Struggle are actually going to be, right? So when we were knocking on doors in the Betty's Ford Road corridor, and I actually live on the corridor, which was very important to me as well. I purchased my house in University Park back in 2018. I live right behind West Charlotte High School. Yeah, go WC. All right, no graduates here. Anyway, I love the babies at West Charlotte High School. We have a number of West Charlotte High School students that work with us in volunteering capacities, as well as part-time staff members. And so we got on the ground and we knocked on doors in the Betty's Ford Road corridor, and we found 2 things. The first thing is there's a large senior population on the Betty's Ford Road corridor. They built that corridor, right? And number 2, folks are legitimately afraid about being displaced because of the rapid growth and gentrification that's happening in Charlotte, right? Because when you think about gentrification, what is the first thing that starts to happen when neighborhoods are gentrified? Anybody?
Mostly the elder folks who have been there for the most of the time who cannot maintain to afford the way the taxes.
That's right. That's right. That's right. In addition to white people, as Winston said, in addition to seeing more white people, you also see a drastic spike and a drastic increase in the property value of the homes, which equates to a drastic increase in the taxes on those properties, right? And when you have seniors on fixed incomes, whereas most of us in here, we can continue to work, we can get a second job to supplement our income, but seniors can't do that, right? And so with that concern in mind, knowing that one, we have a huge senior population, and two, there's a legitimate fear of being displaced from their homes, I put together what we call our Elder Response Initiative, right? And that Elder Response Initiative started with a core team of people. So I pulled together some fellow attorneys. I pulled together real estate attorneys. I was there. Another civil rights attorney was there. There was also an estate planning attorney, right, who does what specializes in wills, trusts, powers of attorney, and all those estate planning in general. And then we also had real estate agents, we had community activists, and we had folks in the financial world, right, financial advisors, help us come up with what are we going to do in response to this large stack of papers that we have, these surveys that we got from the folks on the ground. What are we going to do in response to those concerns, right? And so as a response to that, we created the Elder Response Initiative. Through that initiative, we provide seniors with several free services, okay? So the first free service we do for seniors, and this is county-wide, so we are gonna have to do some marketing around that because the seniors know it's county-wide, but some of our partners and funders didn't seem to know that it was county-wide, right? So the Elder Response Initiative was created as a response, but it was also created with an equitable lens, right? Meaning we will provide these services to any senior who calls us, but because we are focused on equity, we're going to get on the ground and knock on doors in historically and predominantly Black communities to tell our seniors about these services, to educate them about these services, to sign them up, to work with them one-on-one to make sure that they can take advantage of these services because they are the ones disproportionately impacted by the displacement that occurs, right, as a result of gentrification. So we do focus primarily on historically and predominantly Black neighborhoods. We focus primarily on the Bettysville Road corridor, but our services are offered to seniors all throughout the county. Okay, so I did want to note that. So that first service, like I stated, we do free wills, we do free trusts, and we actually have a focus on trust right now because one of the things we have found through our on the ground work as well is it's not necessarily grandma and grandpa selling the house. It's when Pookie and Ray Ray get the house and then somebody knocks on their door with $100,000 in cash and they think that's a lot of money and it's not, right? Especially not in this housing market in Charlotte because you're not even gonna find a one-bedroom apartment for less than $1,300 a month. So when you do the calculations, it just doesn't make sense to sell your parents' homes, right? And then also that kind of, it contradicts what we are promoting, which is generational wealth, right? Generational wealth, economic mobility, being able to pass property down throughout your family. And that is really the foundation of building. Property ownership is the foundation of building generational wealth. Right? Because and it's the foundation of economic mobility. Because when you think about it, your most expensive bill outside of student loans, your most expensive bill every month is where you're going to live, right? Whether you're paying a mortgage or whether you're paying rent. And we know that mortgages are, you get equity from mortgages, right? Number one. And number two, they're significantly less than rental prices, right? I got my house, thank you, sweet Black baby Jesus, just in time, right? My mortgage is $700 a month. If I tried to rent an apartment somewhere, I'd be paying at least $600 or $700 more than that with no equity in the place that I was staying, right? And so we have been doing a lot of education work around, once we do the wills and once we do the trust, we also do power of attorneys for free. We do healthcare directives for free. And once we do those things, once we connect with a family who needs those services, we are really big on educating not only the senior that we're serving, but also their families on the importance of keeping this home and maintaining the home, right? And passing it through generations to come. Because not only does that promote generational wealth, but it also hits on one of our other primary goals, which is to preserve the history and the culture of these historically Black neighborhoods. Because another thing you see with gentrification is an erasure of history. It's an erasure of culture. If you look at Harlem, for instance, or Brooklyn, New York, or, you know, certain parts of LA, like these really like even Charleston, where I'm from, downtown Charleston, I don't even like going down there anymore because it just doesn't look like the downtown Charleston that I grew up in, right? It's a complete complete erasure of the history of that area. And I want to prevent that. And I won't lie to you, I do have bias, and I do have a special interest in Betty's Ford Road because I live on Betty's Ford Road. I moved there because it is Charlotte's historically Black quarter. I wanted to live amongst my people. I want to raise my children amongst my people in that history. So it's very important to me personally that we preserve that history, right? So in addition to, so that's the first service, the free wills in estate planning. The second service we provide is assistance with property tax relief applications. How many of you are familiar with the Homestead Act? Okay. A lot of our seniors have no idea what the Homestead Act is, right? Which is it's a state statute, and if you are a senior above a certain age, 65 years old, and your income is less than a certain threshold, for last year it was $31,300, then you are eligible to get your property taxes significantly reduced, right? Most of our seniors get up to 40% reduction in property taxes. And why is it important for their property taxes to get reduced?
So they can still continue to afford to live there.
That's right.
I do have a question though, in terms of.
Wait a minute, Tell me, raise your hand.
Yeah.
Beginning that if you have a question, raise your hand, write it down, and then I will call you at the end.
Oh, no, so you didn't go that deep, but I must have missed that one. Bye.
Thank you, Miss Mary. Decorum, listen, I love it. And so, yes, it's important because they are on set incomes, right? And as the property values continue to increase and the property taxes continue to increase, getting that break makes it more likely for them to be able to continue to be able to afford those taxes, right? You will see me tapping on my phone. My apologies. It is 8:52 a.m. I have to submit a memo to a judge in one of my discrimination cases by 9 o'clock. And I don't want to give the other side a heads up as to what I'm going to be submitting. So I'm going to break at like 8:58 and click send, and then I'm gonna come right back to you. You'll let me know? Okay, perfect. All right, and so outside of with the property tax relief application, number one, a lot of our seniors have no idea what the Homestead Act is, right? And so we had to engage in a lot of education efforts around what it is. And one of the things it requests that seniors provide a copy of their Social Security award letter. And what is on senior Social Security award letters? I'll give you a hint. I just said it.
What you getting here?
Their Social Security numbers, right? And if you can imagine seniors, especially Black seniors, who have a legitimate distrust of government, institutions, foundations, and whatever else, they're like, I'm not putting my Social Security number on nothing and sending it up to these people I don't know, right? So even for the seniors who are aware of the Homestead Act, they weren't comfortable submitting that type of information with their personal, information on there. And so, in addition to educating seniors about the act and the reductions that it applied and the benefits that came along with it, we had to build the trust of a lot of our seniors on the ground. Okay. And so we pretty much serve as an intermediary between the Mecklenburg County Tax Assessor's Office and our seniors. So we print the property tax relief applications for them. We fill them out with them and for them. They sign it. We make sure they have all of their supporting documentation that they need in order for the application to actually go through. We put it all together, and we take them to the tax assessor's office for them, and we submit them, making sure they're completed applications to make sure that they can take advantage of that program. Okay, so that's the second service we provide to our seniors. The third service we provide is our senior feeding program, right? And so I talked about the importance of trust, right? Gaining their trust, making sure they see us, making sure they know us, making sure we got their back and we're not trying to get over on them, this is a legitimate mistrust within this community. This is a legitimate fear of what can happen to their homes or to their lives if, the wrong information gets out about them. We all know about redlining. We all know about, redistricting. We all know about, the taking of property from the historical taking of property from Black folks in this country. And so those were all legitimate fears that we wanted to make them understand that we understand and then gain their trust by being there. And one of the primary ways that we've gained their trust by being there is through our senior feeding program. So through our senior feeding program, we feed seniors twice a week on the Betty's Ford Road corridor. We feed 104 seniors twice a week. We do a healthy cooked meal, and we do a bag of fresh fruits and vegetables that we get for free in partnership with Loaves and Fishes. And thank God for our office space, because I love my staff. I really, really do. But we were working out of my home, and I was so happy to get them out of my house, right? And so through that senior feeding program, they see us a minimum of twice a week, right? And when I tell you they're standing at the door waiting for us to get there, they're excited not just to get the meal, because a lot of our seniors are wheelchair bound, or, they need assistance with getting around. And so, where we can stand up at the stove and cook and get things done, they don't necessarily enjoy those benefits, right? And so to have a fresh, hot, healthy cooked meal there and present for them, and just to see a smiling, familiar face, right? Twice a week, every week, and sometimes more than twice a week if we're having like our senior service projects where we help them like clean up yards and different things like that. So through our senior feeding program, we are able to combat some of the injustices with respect to food insecurity, right? Because Betty's Ford Road is a food desert. But also with respect to just helping them maintain their health and really, really doing everything we can so that they can age in place, so to speak, as we often hear that term, right? So the fourth program we provide to them is a program that I did not intend on providing, which is our critical home repair program. So initially, I wanted to, 8:57. Initially, I wanted to, we did. We started signing them up for Habitat for Humanity, Rebuilding Charlotte, the city's programs. And those are all really, really incredible programs, but they're all very backed up and busy programs, right? And they service the entire area as well, but it's not necessarily with an eye towards equity, right? It's not focusing specifically on these Black seniors in these historically and predominantly Black neighborhoods, which is what we do at For the Struggle. So after going into seniors' homes, working with them in several different capacities, and, seeing the buckets in the middle of the floor because, the roof is leaking, or, seeing all of these space heaters plugged up because the HVAC system is out, I was fed up. And I was like, this is ridiculous. No one should be living like this, especially not senior citizens, especially not my seniors, right? So I contacted Commissioner Leak because we are in her district. I see you. Thank you. I just have to hit send. I'm already ready. So I'm going to keep going. I'm a multitask. But I called Commissioner Leak and I told her what was going on. And I said, this is something, I need the county to do something about this. And I am willing to step up and be the organization that does it, right? With an eye towards equity, with a focus on historically and predominantly Black neighborhoods. And she and Dina were able to help me get through that process. And with the unanimous vote of the Board of County Commissioners, we got our first seed funding to start a critical home repair program for our seniors. And through that program, we have done over 46 critical home repairs for over 28 seniors since last year, right? And so we do any major, and it's all free as long as you qualify, right? And qualifying just means you have to be 52 years of age. And right now, it means you have to make less than $35,000. Slow down. I'm assuming that's what that means. Okay, and you have to make less than $35,400, right? And thank you, Steve. I appreciate that. And so we do any major repair that you can think of: roof replacements, HVAC replacements, electrical, plumbing, flooring, and structural issues, which a lot of our homes actually have, especially on the Betty's Ford Road corridor because they're so old. We make homes ADA accessible. So we do like ADA accessible bathrooms, meaning we're putting, the chairs in the tubs for them. We're putting bars in the, bathrooms for them. We're putting rails on their front and back porches to make sure that they are safe entering and exiting home. That is the fifth service we provide. We started a new service with the support of, we started a new service with the support U.S. Bank at the end of October last year. We got a $50,000 grant from them to start our Eco Senior program. And I am very big on environmental injustice as well, being someone who's been in the civil rights world since I was a kid, right? And I understand, the disproportionate impact that environmental injustices have on us as Black folks. And so I really, really was excited about getting that funding from U.S. Bank because it enabled us to start the Eco Senior program. So that program has a dual focus, right? The first focus is, a dual goal. The first is to combat some of the systemic injustices, right, that happen as it pertains to the environment to historically and predominantly Black areas, right? So how many of you guys have heard of Charlotte's Crescent area? Y'all heard of that term before? Yeah, so in that area, it's typically a few degrees hotter during the summertime in that area than it is in other areas like South Park, Myers Park, and the more predominantly white areas. And that is because of the environmental injustices that happen in Black neighborhoods, right? If you come to Betty's Ford Road, you can almost get to any interstate in less than 3 minutes, right? We have 85 that cuts through, 277 cuts through, I-77 cuts through, right? And those things matter, right? The emissions that you get from those trucks and cars going up and down those highways, they matter. All of that stuff matters, right, to the environment. And it's of no coincidence. It's not by chance that those interstates run through our neighborhoods. You don't see them running through South Park. You don't see them running through Myers Park. You got to travel at least 5 to 10 minutes to get to an interstate in those neighborhoods, right? And so all of that is very intentional. So it's very important to me that we start the Eco Senior program. So again, one goal is to combat those injustices, but the second goal is to help our seniors save on their utility bills, right? And so through the Eco Senior program, we do a number of environmental friendly upgrades. We replace all electronics in the kitchen. So we'll replace refrigerators. We replace, I wanted to show them a video, but I guess I can't. It's okay. I'll do that at the end. We replace refrigerators. We replace stoves with energy efficient refrigerators and stoves. What are those things called that the young folks use? Dishwashers. I don't use dishwashers. No, not air fryers. Dishwashers. We replace all of their lighting with LED lighting. We'll update their fixtures, their water fixtures, to make them low flow fixtures to help them save on their water bills. We replace their thermostats with the energy efficient thermostats, all as a means to help them save on their utility bills, but also just making their homes more environmental friendly, right? So those are the 5 services that we provide through our Elder Response Initiative. That is by far our first program that we executed through the community response team. And that is our most robust program that we have at For the Struggle. Many people know us as we need to call up, to For the Struggle to help one of our seniors, right? We also host Juneteenth on the Betty's Ford Road corridor. This year is our 4th year. We have, and Dr. Sherelle always gives us a beautiful education lesson about the meaning of Juneteenth. Again, I live on Betty's Ford, and it was really strange to me that there was no celebration of the Black holiday on the Black corridor in Betty's Ford Road. And I wanted to change that, right? And so we host that every year. It has been a growing effort in partnership with a number of wonderful grassroots organizations. Last year, we had almost 700 folks in attendance. We had a street permit. We blocked off Senior Drive right in front of West Charlotte High School. And we had all of our partners there, our corporate partners, U.S. Bank, Target, Lowe's, Blue Cross, Blue Shield, Ally Bank, Wells Fargo, Bank of America. All of the folks who fund us, they were there. But the beauty of it is that the community was there as well. And they got to see what you're funding. And they get to see, I don't like the term grassroots, right? Because I feel like it puts us in a box and it puts us in a category. We're not grassroots. We are doing the work that you should be supporting. Help us help you help people, right? If that's really what you want to be done, let me bring you out here amongst our people so you can see them and you can see who they're helping. And so Juneteenth has been a really successful event for us. Our second focus area is our Eatman project. And that project focuses on educating and engaging Black voters throughout the county. Okay. Our program director does a phenomenal job of hosting different events in partnership with a lot of organizations like, you know, Black Voters Matter, the Hip Hop Caucus, the ACLU, to make sure that our voters are educated and engaged. And we strategically cover predominantly Black polling locations throughout the county every election, both during early voting as well as on the actual election day, to make sure folks are educated and engaged, to make sure folks know who they're voting for, and to make sure folks are at the right polling location, which was a huge issue at the last during the last election cycle. So that program is really exciting. Our last focus area is our Salute You program, which I'm really excited about because we are, I'll make that 10:30. Yes, we are launching that. That program began with another trust-based approach at North Mecklenburg High School and West Charlotte High School. So under the Salute You program, we work with children who are either have some sort of involvement already with the criminal system, or they are engaging in activities that tend to lead to involvement with the criminal system. Okay, and so we have been going into West Charlotte High School and North Mecklenburg High School. Our program director has been going into those two schools since October, building the trust of these kids, because, you know, a lot of these kids experience things that we wouldn't even fathom as children, right? I mean, and I'm not going to tell you any of the stories, but if you hear some of the stories, it's not only heartbreaking, but you also learn that our kids, predominantly Black kids, right, who are written off as criminals, as bad, you a bad little kid, right? Or, you know, unruly or disrespectful. These kids have some harsh circumstances. And at the end of the day, when they're provided with love and mentorship and guidance, you really get to see that they're just kids. They're just kids. They made some mistakes and they made some bad decisions, you know, based on their environments that they're growing up in, but they're just kids. And so Eric Stokes is our program director. He has done a phenomenal job of working not only with the children, but with the administration at both schools, at North Mecklenburg as well as West Charlotte High School, to launch this program. So through this program, with these youth, the kids have to, number one, like I said, be involved with the criminal system or doing things to get there. Number two, they all, at the beginning of the program, and it actually launches in March, the first week of March, we bring them all to our office, to our conference room, and they all have to start developing their CAP, right? Their CAP is their change in action plan. Every kid's change in action plan will be different, right? They can want to change their action by, you know, making sure they check in with their probation officer, or, you know, making sure they get a job so that they'll stop selling weed so that they can help their parents, right? Or, you know, making sure they're not getting kicked out of school just for this quarter, right? That could be an accomplishment for the student, depending on whichever, you know, kid it may be. And so we are crafting those plans with them so that they can execute it within the next 12 months. They also have to agree to be a mentor once they graduate from the program, as a way to give back to other kids who are going in that same direction, right? And so what we give on our end, number one, we have coursework for them, right? And it's more practical coursework. It's not written coursework, but through that course, what they'll primarily be learning is conflict management, right? How do you manage conflict without pulling out a gun? How do you manage conflict without fighting in X, Y, and Z? Right? So conflict management, we have financial experts coming in to talk to them about financial literacy. We have employers coming in who are seeking to hire youth, right? And we actually have Salute You employers. So each employer who commits to hiring one of our folks in our program will get a plaque that they can put in their business, and it will recognize them as a Salute You employer, as an employer that's committed to helping our youth who have involvement with the criminal system, to help guide them in the right direction. We also provide them, in addition to the coursework, we also provide them with connection to a mentor and to a sponsor, right? So their mentors are all people who are formerly incarcerated. Their sponsors are all folks who have connections and can help them get jobs, build a resume, you know, get internships, visit schools, and different things like that. And then we also offer them free boxing courses, right? At a boxing class, a Black-owned boxing gym here. It's called Stone's Boxing Academy. And they'll receive free boxing courses as a way. If you're mad, go box the bag. You ain't got to box nobody else. Just go box the bag, right? As a way to release some of their stress and some of the angers that they have within them. So I am very passionate about that program, and I'm really excited about the program because we picked the perfect person to run that program. So I've said a lot. I'm going to be quiet. I actually have to go to North Mech to meet with the principal, with our program director at 10:30. So I'm going to stop talking. I really appreciate Winston for inviting me. And thank you to your leadership and everyone who's here. For the Struggle is a young but growing organization, and you know, God has blessed us tremendously, and I really believe it's because we genuinely care, right? We care about people, and I'm very picky about who I choose to be on my staff, and all of my staff members are just overly incredible human beings, and the way they put themselves out there to, you know, help folks they've never met in their lives. It's true. It inspires me because sometimes I have to be like, girl, we can't help them, you know, or God, we can't help them. We can't provide that service. No, we can't pay their property taxes for them. And as much as we want to, you know, we do have restraints and we have barriers, funding restraints and funding barriers. But we're going to get there where we can do, you know, more full services. But so, yeah, thank you guys for having me this morning. And yeah.
You have a few questions?
Okay.
Okay, so the first question is Jay.
A couple of remarks. In addition to creating wealth with home ownership, there's also the tax benefits that goes with that also. And I want to introduce you to Tara Benoit. She's spoken here a couple of times. She's with a community action agency.
Okay.
And their purpose is to help with critical repairs. And so I'd love to get the two of you together on
Yes.
that. But I'd like to know, my question is, the law firm for which you worked, and who is your boxing at the boxing over on Revolution?
So it's my law firm, and it's called Justice in Action Law Center.
No, when you first got there.
I'm sorry?
First got here.
Oh, when I first got here, I worked at a law firm called Cranfield Sumner. Yep, I worked at a law firm called Cranfield, and actually, it's opposite of what I do, and I did it intentionally. Because I wanted to learn, if I'm going to be practicing North Carolina courts, I want to learn what the other side strategy is, because I had never practiced in the South before, not in a state court before. I was always in federal court or in New York, you know, in New York courts. And so Cranfield Summer is the name. And I think you asked, what's the name of the boxing?
If it's the boxing that's over at Revolution Park.
No,
Okay.
maybe. I don't know. It's by the airport, and it's called Pure Grind Fitness and Stokes Boxing Academy. And that is, yeah, down by the airport. I don't know what
This
the
is
Revolution.
Park and Recreation.
It is not. No, it is not that. No, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay.
They're kind of free, but okay.
Yes.
I told you, man, I might forget. Write it down. I wrote it down. I just had a question going back to the Homestead Act.
Yeah.
Is there a threshold between the median value of properties in an area versus the income level of individuals, or is it a set number regardless of the median value? Because you know, a property in Charlotte is not going to be the same value as one in Concord.
It's set by state statute, and it's a set number that applies to everyone.
Okay, so if I'm making $31,000 in Charlotte versus $31,000 in Asheboro, North Carolina, we're still set by the same standards regardless of our property values.
Correct. It's a state statute.
Okay.
Well, the property, yeah, that income threshold is a set value. Now, how they reduce it does depend on the value of the property, right? But like what the percentage is that they'll take off depends on the value of the property. But the income threshold is the same for all senior citizens throughout the state.
Okay, so yeah, that's what I'm saying. So property value of 101,000. They say 60%, just put on a number. They're going to take 61% or 60% out of that 101 versus somebody living in something that's 48,000 value. They're going to take the same 60% out of that based on what they make.
I don't know that. The numbers is not my ministry, and I don't go that deep into the calculation. I just sign people up. I sign them up, but I can tell you that it is. The way they do the percentages and the reductions is based on the value of the home which is why the amount that will be reduced varies. The amount of the property tax that will be reduced varies because the value of the home varies.
You can also layer those with city and county programs as well, though, right? Like the cities that I'm sorry, you're right. I'm sorry. That's right. You're right.
Okay. Let's remember that, I call on you, you can ask a question, but we don't have back and forth conversation. We just ask her a question. If you want to go further, you can put your name back on the list. Okay. That's just to keep everything running smoothly. Okay, Winston.
I ain't gonna use my time. Come on.
That's right.
Go ahead, Winston.
Again, Alesha, thank you so much for coming. You know I know about the program very well. However, I wanted to take this opportunity for the hundreds of listeners that we will have online. Can you talk more just about your experience living on the Badersford Road corridor and a cohort of people you run into? We have a group chat of people kind of in our age range, all kind of active in the community who understand the privilege and the beauty of living amongst Black people. I just wanted to hear about your experience.
Yeah. I mean, it was never a question or an option for me, right? And so when I found my house in University Park, the beauty of it was like I walk outside and there were all senior citizens, literally, who lived right to me, left of me. God bless both of their souls. Diagonal from me, there's a younger person who lives right in front of me. But like in everywhere I turned, there was a senior citizen. And the cool thing about it is I travel a lot. And if you know anything about Black seniors, they're gonna watch your house for you, right? And so I was like, yes, this is it. It's lit, right? This is amazing. And so in addition to the seniors, I got to meet younger folks like, Winston, and Jatanya, and, Acadius, and, his wife. It's just so many people who really understand the importance of preserving these Black neighborhoods, right? Our grandmothers and grandfathers can't preserve it because they're going to transition at some point. And so it's really up to us to preserve our neighborhoods. And like he said, our West End Friends group is incredible. We keep folks in the loop. Hey, y'all, this house is up for sale. Y'all know anybody trying to buy? Because we want to make sure that we keep, our culture and our history within those neighborhoods. So it's been beautiful. I mean, everything from, our young folks group to our seniors, even to the business owners, right? Bernetta at the seafood, at West End Seafood, and Jermaine at Original Chicken and Ribs, and then our new Archive. Sharice has done a beautiful job. If you have not been to Archive, you need to go to Archive. It is right on the corner of Betty's Ford and LaSalle. Get the Foxy Brown. Tell her I sent you, right? Hopefully I'll get some extra credit because it is a wonderful drink, and I'm just coming off the Daniel fast. So I'm actually going to get that today because I haven't been able to have sugar for 21 days, and I'm really excited about that. But Archive is beautiful. Also, if you like seafood, go to the seafood market on Betty's Ford Road. If you like chicken and ribs, go to Original Chicken and Ribs. That is such a historical building. It was actually one of the restaurants that was in the Green Book. Are you all familiar with what the Green Book was? Yeah. Right? And so I love to just go in there, right? They've upgraded it, obviously, and it's beautiful. But I mean, the Ford is the Ford, man. And it's beautiful, and I love it. I wouldn't change it for anything. And any man who marries me is going to have to move into our neighborhood because I'm not leaving. So.
Get out there.
That's right.
Okay. I don't know if mine is a question or a statement, but we talk about this word gentrification. Mm-hmm. People think that only white people gentrify. Mm-hmm. Black people, we can gentrify our own neighborhood. Winston gentrified.
Oh my goodness.
Think of yourself that way.
No.
But you didn't have to move there. You did not have to move, for instance. It was something you didn't. You could have moved anywhere in Charlotte that you wanted to move to, mm-hmm. but you chose to move to the Black neighborhood, mm-hmm. right?
I don't have access to those systems that would allow me to be a gentrifier.
What you mean you did it?
Well, the thing is, I didn't have the construct of whiteness behind me where I could just, And I
think it's important that we define gentrification, right? So when I think it's because if a white person moves into my neighborhood and they just live in the home as purchased, that's not going to have a disproportionate impact on the values of the other homes. The issue with gentrification is oftentimes, white folks will move into the communities and they'll try to change the character and the culture of the neighborhoods, right? So you have all these beautiful, single family homes, and then you have the white folks, come in and they'll knock the home down and they'll build these like 2-story square houses that look like they belong in San Francisco. That's what gentrification is. That is when it starts impacting the other property owners around, because they're not complying with the character of the neighborhood as it exists. They want to change it into what they want it to be, which ultimately has a negative impact on us.
Let's change it around. Instead of us abandoning our parents' homes, what we need to do is come back and live in those
That's
homes.
right. I agree.
And it's okay to remodel
Yes.
and bring it up to, these standards. But my point is that when that house goes for sale, we sell it to who we want to sell it to.
Right.
So, but then on the other hand, we need to think about buying a house over there like you thought about buying a house, or like you thought buying a house over there, because you didn't have to buy that house. You see what I mean? You didn't have to. So I just think it's important for us to think about that. So don't go around blaming the white folks for buying this house and doing all that when
You still blame them.
we can
They still play their part.
yeah. Okay. Right here.
Yes, good morning, Queen.
Good morning.
My name's Gary Marion. I'm a former radio guy from Boston. I commend you, first of all, on what you're doing. I lived in a state called Massachusetts, and they don't allow this type of thing to happen. I mentioned it here when I first moved to Charlotte. The best thing that happened to me was Tuesday morning breakfast forum. They wouldn't allow us to do this in Massachusetts. Everything that we had is taken away. Historical, black-owned venues, apartment complexes now. And they do it just because they can do it.
That's right.
And that's why it's called a master plan. Now, my question to you is, I have a friend who put Hickory Grove Baptist Church on the map with their food pantry. After 30 years, they treated him like a slave, created all this drama, kicked him to the curb. His name's Charlie Norwood. He should have a statue in downtown, uptown Charlotte, because he has done so many things for the elderly, veterans, and everyone. He's a military vet with his food. He has connections.
Wait a minute. What's your question?
My question is, can I introduce him to you
I
to
know.
possibly help you with your food services? Because he's still doing stuff on his own from A to Z. The church can't do what he did.
Right.
He has connections from vendors, services, stores that we all shop at. Furniture,
Okay, she
clothing.
knows
He said yes. Thank you very much, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Lauren?
Okay, Alicia, thank you again for coming. And you have an interesting sharing with us. It's very interesting. My question to you is, you're doing a lot. What type of political backup do you have? Who are the politicians other than the family that is helping you? Can you share that with us? Because they come through here all the time. And I just like you to just, if you have any, because you're doing a lot, who do you have that's in our political regime that's assisting you other than family?
Let me preface what I'm going to say by stating this. I am not a politician. I'm not political, and I'm certainly not politically correct. Okay. And I don't think in the space that I am, I can't be. Okay. So with that, I say, there's no reason why our mayor and a number of our elected officials have talked about equity and corridors of opportunity in the way that they have and have not connected with organizations like For the Struggle. It's troubling. I have never seen anything like it. And like I said, I worked for government when I was in New York City. When we have so many elected officials who look like us, I find it very troubling that we are still struggling from things that we were struggling with back in the 80s and the 90s. It's unacceptable. Right. And so, you know, I have great relationships with some of our elected officials, with you know, Victoria Watlington, who's my sorority sister, with, you know, Mark Jarrell, like I said, with Commissioner Leak. But there's so much more that can and needs to be done. There's so many more connections that need to be made. And I am disappointed in a lot of our elected officials and their lack of aggressiveness, right? I don't want to hear equity anymore without any actual action behind it. Equity has become a sexy word, sort of, right? I don't want to hear it anymore. Equity looks like we're gonna pour into Betty's Ford Road until we get them on the same level as Myers Park. And we might have to make Myers Park sit out this round of funding, but that's what equity looks like. When you get everyone on the same playing field, we're not doing that good enough. I'm tired of hearing bylaws talk about equity. I'm tired of hearing them talk about corridors of opportunity. I'm personally tired of it. So what I've had to do was continue to pray. I start every morning with prayer. And I ask God, seriously, I ask God to equip us so that we can continue on and help people in a meaningful way to really effectuate change for people who look like me, right? I have a special interest in Black people. And I don't feel like, not even just for the struggle, but I don't feel like other organizations who are really on the ground getting things done in the way that they say they want to do, I don't feel like they've tapped into us the way that they should. And that's troubling for me. So, you know, like I said, I'm not politically correct. I'm not bashing anyone. I'm stating the facts, and you can see it when you, just by pulling up, right? I'm not saying anything that's out of the ordinary. You can see it yourselves.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
And that's perfect. In fact, you know, as much as I hear the word corridors of opportunity, I really don't know what they do. I really don't.
I don't either.
Small business, you know, they talk about Johnson C. Smith, but that's just one block.
That's one block.
And
that's
so,
one block.
You know, so I don't know what they do.
And can I say this, Ms. Mary, real quick?
Go ahead.
And in corridors of opportunity gets on my nerves, right? Because in my mind, so what we often see is opportunity means let's bring the Starbucks in, let's bring this other company in, let's make this corridor look better, let's clean it up, right? And what does that do? That doesn't include the people who live there and built the neighborhoods. That's right. And oftentimes that's another way to displace them out of the neighborhoods as well. And so there should be, and there really can be an effort where there's a collaborative effort amongst the community, amongst elected officials, amongst developers, if they want it to be, right? If they want it to be a collaborative effort, it can. And so that's what we're looking to see.
Okay, Winston.
So again, thank you for all you do for the struggle. In the context of New York, you're from New York. You work in New York. Beatties Ford Road, let's say it's 1955. If Beatties Ford Road is Harlem, West Boulevard is the South Bronx when it was all on fire. In the sense that even though Beatties Ford Road, this corridor has been underserved for a while, the West Boulevard corridor, this parts of, if you go to Reed Park and Amy James, this parts, if you go deep enough, it still looks like the 40s. Mm-hmm. So I asked that, and the reason I know this because, you know, before I moved to Beatties Ford Road, I grew up in a very different Wilmore off West Boulevard. That's when Wilmore was still Black. So what would scaling look like for the struggle to reach other areas of Blackness?
Yeah, so and let me be clear. Again, none of our programs are limited to Betty's Ford Road. You hear me talking about Betty's Ford Road a lot because that's where we started. That's where we are physically located. That's where I live. And I am a firm believer in I can't go out here helping nobody else if I'm not even helping my own in my own home, in my own neighborhood, right? So you will hear us talk about Betty's Ford a lot, but our efforts are not limited to just Betty's Ford Road. We have a specific focus on historically and predominantly Black communities in general, right? So we're expanding to South Carolina, we're expanding up to Durham this year, and the focus will still be historically and predominantly Black neighborhoods in those areas, but we won't be limited to those neighborhoods. We won't limit our services to those neighborhoods, if that makes sense. So we need to do more marketing around that because it's come to my attention several times that people think that we only service the Betty's Ford Road corridor, and that's not true.
Okay,
I think you may have answered it without answering in a way.
I
You done skipped over. Go ahead, man. Go ahead. You didn't see me last time. I was like, well, maybe she did mean to check her out. Go ahead, girl.
checked her off because she was the third name.
No,
on
girl,
here,
go
all
ahead.
the way down here. Sorry,
Go
go ahead.
Hey, so for your senior feeding program, do you go by state guidelines to what they consider is healthy, and do you outsource someone to prepare meals?
So no, we don't go by. I mean, yes, but it's not. We're not in the kitchen like overly like we're not weighing out food and stuff like that. So initially, when we started the senior feeding program, it was not a part of the original services we were providing. We provided it in response to COVID, right? And so when we started, we would partner with the church that would prepare the meals, and I think they were under the state guidelines and all that other stuff. And then we would also partner with the Black restaurants on the corridor to support them through COVID, right? As well as, provide the meals to our seniors. So at one point we would partner with restaurants, Original Chicken and Ribs, Seafood Market, but that got really costly. And so actually this year, just a few weeks ago, starting in January, we have hired an in-house person who has their Serve Safe certification. A lot of my staff members have their Serve Safe certifications as well. And we actually built a kitchen into our office space so that we could prepare the meals in-house. So that's where we are now.
And I'll apologize. Okay, Laura.
Okay, my question is about your youth program. How many youth do you presently serve? Maybe say.
So there are 30 in the first cohort. There are about 15 from West Charlotte High School and 15 from North Mecklenburg High School.
And are they male and female?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
There was just funding that was put out with United Way maybe a week or so ago. You were speaking briefly about monies going to organizations on the streets. Can you speak to that?
I don't think I understand your question. Can
You
you
were
rephrase?
talking about you don't think there's
Funding
funding on the streets for folk to do what they were doing. United Way just put out some funding to many organizations in neighborhoods.
Yeah, so United Way has been doing a great job with that recently. And they have been very intentional about their approach. When I was saying that there's not enough, pouring into on the ground groups, I'm talking about from our governmental entities. I'm talking about from the city, I'm talking about from the county, I'm talking about from the state. Yeah.
Okay, this young lady in the back.
Hi, my name is Madison Carter. I work over at Channel 9. Brand new to Charlotte. Do I have to raise my hand twice for 2 questions?
Yes.
Yes. Right, I'm gonna go ahead and put you down.
Would you please?
Okay.
My first question is it just your staff that can help with these services, or are you guys looking for volunteers? How can people get involved if you want to provide meals to seniors or maybe help with mentors in the youth?
Sure. So we have volunteers every week, right? We have volunteers from every major corporation you could think of. They send them every week to help us prepare the fresh fruits and vegetable bags, to plate the food, to deliver it to the seniors. So we accept volunteers on a recurring basis. We feed every Monday and Wednesday. We have senior service days every quarter. So we always have one on MLK Day. We had over 104 volunteers come out, and we were able to do lawn work for 27 seniors' houses at one time. So there's always opportunities. Check out the website. I brought a stack of business cards with me. You can always shoot me an email, and I'll connect you with Erica, our marketing director, who handles all of our volunteers as well. But yeah, there's always opportunity, and we welcome volunteers.
Okay, I'm gonna let you ask your second question because they've asked a couple of questions.
Yeah. Look at y'all.
No, I gave my question. Look.
Wait a minute now. Wait a minute.
Too, so I'm gonna go ahead and have the second.
Thank you so much. And I apologize because I did come in late, but at the beginning, did you talk about how you're funded? Like, does any of your money come from the tax assessor's office or any of that money when it comes to the services, particularly when it comes to like property values and so forth?
We received money from the county to pilot the critical home repair program. And that was a game changer for us. And I'm very thankful for, like I said, Commissioner Leak, Mark Durrell, our county manager, Dina Diorio, and everyone who was involved in that process, as well as all of our county commissioners. So I don't want to make it seem like we've never gotten anything. I do think there's room to do more, right? And again, that pilot program, that seed money that we got from the county helped us launch the critical home repair program, right? And so what's really cool about that is the reality is a lot of our seniors who call us, they call and say, oh my God, I can't believe you answered, or thank you for calling me back. You know, we've been waiting on Habitat for Humanity for months or years now, and you know, my ceiling is still leaking. And again, I'm not shading Habitat for Humanity. I want to be very clear, but because we have this focus on senior citizens, especially, you know, seniors in historically and predominantly Black communities, we're able to knock them out much quicker, right? Our turnaround time, depending on the issue. Sometimes, like during the summertime, if a senior calls and tell me they don't have any AC, I get somebody out there ASAP, right? Same thing for the winter, get somebody out there ASAP. We have not received any funding from the city. We are currently in the RFP process with the county to get more money to help fund the critical home repair program.
That's just critical. I mean, like for the struggle as a whole.
God, no. No.
Okay, no, wait a minute. Let's follow the rules here. Thank you.
I love her. I love her so much. Can I bring you to my staff meeting? I need order.
Close to where you are.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let me just say this. We have a hard stop at 9:45. She's got to go to North Mecklenburg. So you need to keep your question brief and don't expect a very long answer from her. Don't ask her something that really she's got to go way deep, you know. So just keep that in mind with your question. Go ahead, Miss.
Given the character, structure, and industry of Charlotte, what would some of your ideal collaborations be?
What? Say that again.
Given how Charlotte is, what's your ideal collaboration? That's Winston's question, not mine.
Yeah, you know, we got a lot of headquarters here. Lowe's is here. All of the banks are here. What are just some collaborations that you feel like would make sense?
Well, we've been very blessed. We partner with Lowe's. We partner with almost all of the banks here. They all give us money every year. Target is one of our partners. Target will literally send out their entire facilities crew to help us do home repairs that don't require like permits, like the major things. So like making a bathroom ADA accessible, they'll send their employees who handle their facilities out to do that work. I would say an ideal partnership would, I want to partner with the city and the county. I feel like this is the work they're supposed to be doing, and we're helping them do that, right? So I think an ideal partnership would be a coalition amongst not only our governmental entities, but as well as our on the ground, I hate the word grassroots, but our on the ground groups and some of those corporate partners, because the corporations have a lot of flex here in Charlotte, so they need to be at the table as well. But we should also be at the table and figuring out how to do it in a meaningful way and in an equitable way. That's my ideal collaboration, and I don't believe that has happened yet.
Okay.
Great segue, Winston, because I was going to ask just how open have you. I'm fortunate to be a born and raised Charlottean here. At 32 years old, I was fortunate to join the Charlotte Chamber Board of Directors. So I was fortunate to have access to a lot of behind the scenes stuff. Just last night, I was at a room with Charlotte Executive Leadership Council representatives, one of them being the managing director and over public affairs for Morgan Allen and the executive on loan for B of A to the city of Charlotte for corridors of opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And so these are two Caucasian males who are high up at their companies who are making decisions for corridors of opportunity. Have you been given opportunity? And I guess you kind of just answered that one from your chief collaborations question, where these are the folks that you need to be at the table with.
I would say the only collaboration that I know of in the way that you're speaking of, in an intentional effort, is from Fifth Third Bank, right? They have put together, a group of on the ground folks, as well as Liz, Dr. Ralphine Caldwell, and, some of their executives to figure out how to execute their funding and how to do it in a meaningful way that's really going to effectuate change for our communities. Other than that, I'm not aware of any such initiative or partnership other than Fifth Third at this. Not that I'm aware of.
Right. But you have.
Correct.
Okay. Lauren.
Okay, we have someone from the listening audience who asked me to ask you this question. They said, this is awesome, a great presentation. And this person wants to know, since you're from Charleston, if you're related to Attorney Russell Brown or
The short of that is I get that question all the time. I have no idea. I have a huge family, but not that I know of.
Do you collab with anybody else on the corridor? Because it's the lady that has, she spoke here where she does training classes for just
Miss Fran.
Yeah, okay.
Miss Fran, yeah, she's right next door to us.
Yeah.
We are familiar and we collaborate and coordinate to the death of us with our folks on the corridor. It doesn't matter. Yeah, partnership is very important to me.
Also see her at Vibe Called Fresh.
Oh yeah. He can't help it.
Yeah, I know it. When we get in the room, we just have so much to say. I'm the same way. And we have so much. We can actually answer somebody else's question. But we have got to try to get a couple on this calling out. Because unless we change our format. And maybe we need to change our format. I don't know.
Nah. That's my phone.
I would rather, if we're going to allow it, then we need to make a formal change. Other than that, let's stick to what we do. We don't do a lot of commentary. Like, we don't give a big, long speech before we ask the questions.
Can you really come join my staff meetings?
I will, but people don't like me because I don't, or you going to follow. I'm a teacher. I'm a retired educator.
Right.
So this is my classroom. I can't have you just yelling at
right.
And I carry that. I'm sorry.
I love it. I love it, Ms. Mary.
But anyway, so let's in the future, let's just try to keep our question, ask the question without giving a lot of background information. Okay, I know it's hard. That's very hard to do. But let's try to do that. But unless we don't have another question, Nathalie has a question.
I just want more clarity on the funding, because you only talk about funding for the home repairs, but the building, everything that you're doing, but how are you funding all of this? How
Sure.
are you going to quit your real job and do this?
Well, I'm not quitting my real job. I'm taking a break. I'll still be doing the state work. Yeah, no, but we get a lot of general operating dollars as well from our different funders. All of our funders are private funders, other than thank God for the Knight Foundation and Charles Thomas. They were our first funder. And that really helped us build, right, to be able to get not only programmatic funding, but just general operating funding. We also have a giving circle, if any of you are interested, where we have folks sign up to give $20 a month, and then in return, you get for the struggle gear, that giving circle and private we got over $60,000 in private donations just from individuals last year, which is really helpful, in terms of paying our part-time staff and things like that. So yeah, between private donations, foundations like the Knight Foundation, all of the banks, Lowe's, Target, and major corporations, we're able to fund all of our programming.
Great, great.
Okay, are there any other questions that we have in the room? Any other questions? Okay, let's give her a big
Thank you.
what you're doing. And I'm actually gonna send an email to your and my city council representative.
Well, I've already reached out to him and I haven't heard back on that
I know
yet.
you
So
haven't. I know you haven't.
just
But
being
we're
transparent.
gonna do it again.
Okay.
I know you haven't. So, are there any announcements? Oh, I have one announcement. Okay, you mentioned archives.
Archive.
Sharice.
Yes.
Sharice is going to be doing something with the Mint Museum this summer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And I don't know if you've heard about it, but they're actually going to go to her house and they're going to take her living room and recreate it at the Mint Museum.
That's hard.
They take all her furniture, and everything, and it's going to be
Go.
the exact room at the Mint Museum, and it's going to be there for the summer.
You gotta love it, man.
That's
Shout
hard.
out to Sharice. I'm
That's
so
hard.
proud of her.
Anyway, I just want you all to be on the lookout for that,
I
because
got
she's really excited about that. I guess it's going along with some theme that they have, but they want her living room as is.
Gotta love it.
They're gonna move her furniture, the whole 9 yards. So,
What's the name of this person?
at Archives,
Sharice.
have you been to Archives? It's a
No.
coffee
It's the
shop.
coffee shop right by the
They
Chase
just go
Bank.
in and
Oh,
sell.
okay.
It's really
You know,
good.
just a little Chase.
And when you said Aretha, I thought it was gonna be my living room.
No. Say that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was what you're gonna say. Anybody else have an announcement?
That's the race.
Okay, so Rita has a.
The calendars are here, guys. The Juneteenth calendar is there first.
Yeah.
An 18-month calendar. And I have some, and I'll see you in the parking lot if you want to buy one. And I want your name, your email, your telephone number. That's all I want from you, each of you. They are interesting. There are events every day of the year. And then the National Juneteenth Organization has a place where you can call them, contact them for further information,
Mhm.
or set your order for next year's calendar.
Okay, how much are they?
$6.19, commemorating the 6th June
19.
19.
I'll be getting a couple of them from you.
I know.
Black history is a lifetime, it's not a month. Stop letting other people control the narrative.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have an announcement.
Oh, go ahead.
We have our annual benefit gala on February 11th. It's always a great time. If you want to attend, please go to the website. We've sold over 230 tickets, so we only have about 60 some odd tickets left. But I would love to see your faces again. And we do award revolutionaries in the community who's doing a lot of great work. So you'll get to see the award ceremony as well. And then at the end, my line sister, who's a DJ, we cut a rug. So we have a good time. So February 11th at Oasis Shriners, go to the website. I have cards up here if you want to join us for that benefit gala. And we've already raised over $70,000.
How much is it?
It's $85. Yep.
So the tickets are 85.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Yeah. Anybody else have an announcement? Okay. But we want to thank her for coming. Let's give her another.
Thank y'all for having me.